Hello, Father. Tell me,
That's awkward.
what would you do when someone has stolen from you?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. What's been stolen from you? After everything I've been through to find you, I think you already know.
That's a loaded question. What's been stolen from you?
Institute property is not often taken from us. We cannot react lightly when it happens. The group that calls themselves the Railroad have acquired several synths from the Institute. Synths that had gone missing in recent months. They no doubt mean to free these synths, in their delusion that synths are somehow sentient beings. You've been in contact with the Railroad, so you're aware of their misguided beliefs.
Railroad? Never heard of them. Okay, let's see. They mean well. They're only doing what they think is right.
They mean well. They're only doing what they think is right.
You dealt with Libertalia. That's the result of their selfish, short-sighted plan. Usually they are a minor nuisance, but lately they have become more emboldened. I'm afraid we've reached the point where a response is necessary. We have learned the current location of these synths, and need to reacquire them before the Railroad can hide them.
Yeah, I don't really want to help you do that at this time.
Where are the synths located?
A small settlement at the old Bunker Hill Monument. But it's important that we act on this soon, before the Railroad has any indication we've tracked them. We also don't want the Brotherhood of Steel getting wind of the presence of the synths. That would only complicate matters.
Can I give you a I'll think about it kind of thing?
Is it just me, or will I have backup?
Of course, sir. We'll be waiting for you outside Bunker Hill. You'll have support should you need it. But we want to keep this small.
Right. Optional, inform the Railroad. Optional, inform the Brotherhood. Ooh. Alright, so I looked it up. I looked it up. And from this point on...
Good to see you.
I think that this is pretty much where I have to kind of make my decision. And by make my decision, I mean I'm gonna go fuck off and do exploration and side missions until I finally decide to commit myself to one of the sides. And then after I complete their story, revert the saves. For some people have missed that. I will check out the Institute missions and see what they want to accomplish, same as with the Brotherhood, the Railroad, and the Minutemen. All of them. But like I keep on saying, I also want to explore the rest of the world. Look at all this shit that I haven't explored. There's stuff way over here, probably things in between here. We never checked out Abernathy Farm. That's literally right outside of Sanctuary, and I've never checked it out. There's this robotics disposal ground thing. Yeah, just so many things that I want to check out. So many side missions I probably haven't even gathered on my data list that I don't want to make a end game decision and reach a credits, and then continue on after the credits, having helped one of the sides, and I sit there just kind of begrudgingly being like, well, I'm so glad I killed the Brotherhood, or oh, I'm so glad I killed these guys. Yeah, so instead I'm just going to do other things. We're gonna head over to Virgil real quick, because I need to actually give him the serum before I forget. Right, still considered stealing if I take any of his things. And Preston's with me, so he wouldn't approve of it.
Well, I'm glad to see the relay didn't completely vaporize you.
It did, but I pulled myself together.
I suppose you did. Now, what about the serum? Did you find it?
I can't find it anywhere, I'm sorry. Fuck that. What? Right here.
Got it right here.
That's it. That's really it. All right. Let's see.
What a stink.
Retrovirus has matured nicely. Density gradient is high. Recombinant counter-intron sequences look stable. Transcriptive exon strands have formed.
Has the reverse transcriptase survived a nucleotide synthesis?
How are you going to test it?
On myself, of course. That was the plan. This serum will only counteract the specific strain of FEV that I infected myself with. There's no telling what it might do to anyone else.
So,
Right,
oh, there you go.
here we go.
I thought he was just gonna awkwardly stop talking.
And now, we wait.
How long will it take?
I don't know. Nothing like this has ever been tried before. I'm going to rest for a while. I'm back in a few days, maybe a week, and... well, I guess we'll see. In any event, you kept your end of our bargain. Thank you.
Alright, and so that's it?
Virgil?
I'm going to get some rest.
Alright. Still don't have permission to steal his stuff, damn. Usually when you actually accomplish stuff for people, they go, alright, everything here is yours now. Take whatever you need. And I go, neat, I will. I do like having more and more crafting ingredients, even if I have an abundance. Once I actually start throwing stuff around into the settlements, I'll probably pretty quickly run out of things, but we'll see about that. Although, speaking of someplace I have to go after waiting a week, I believe we can actually head to the other guy, Jack Cabot.
Hey.
Ah, you're back.
at all this.
Good news. I figured out how to access the artifact's telekinesis effect. I've hooked it up to this old laser rifle. There's no way to control it without direct neural input. For better or worse, all of that was destroyed when my father died. But you still have a rather powerful directed force. Here, see what you think.
Okay. Lorenzo's artifact gun. It kind of reminds me of the guns used by the children of Adam. He even does radiation damage. I don't know if I'd like this. I guess I'll have to test it out on other people.
How does it work?
It uses standard energy cells for power. The artifact's internal power supply was destroyed. Otherwise, point and shoot. It doesn't kill people, but you may still be able to find some use for it. As for myself, I don't know. Maybe I'll finally travel to the southwest. My father was always convinced that there was another alien city buried somewhere in the Mojave Desert.
Ooh. Oh, Mojave Desert, huh?
Hey there.
I only wish I'd been able to find some way to cure my father before it came to this. I still believe that with a little more time, I might have found some way to remove the artifact. But it doesn't matter now.
Yeah, it doesn't, because it took you like 300 to 400 years to not actually succeed in removing the artifact from your dad's head. You just can't say, with a little bit more time, I might have found a way. Really? Do you have any documents at your house? You know what? I never actually looked at Jack Cabot's terminals. I mean, his sister has a terminal, he has a terminal. I never actually looked at all that stuff. Oh well. One interesting thing to take from that is the topic of the Mojave Desert. Hey, I'd take a New Vegas too. And just meet up with Jack Cabot in the middle of that.
Cabot House? For real? I always thought this place was just a legend.
How would it just be a legend if it's a legitimate building? I asked that because you could have just found out any time. You live in the Commonwealth. You live in this big ass area. You're not like on the West Coast going, huh, the Cabot House. I thought it was only a legend. No, you've lived here, man. Probably for most of your life.
Hi.
What's up?
Oh, you can't talk about any other things that have happened? You want to talk to me about your suspicions of the Cabot family? Or anything like that? Ah, well.
We step back in time.
I'm gonna take all the
That'll
things.
miss more than a few caps.
Bingo.
Ooh, look at that. Zeta gun. Taking that. I was able to take that from Jack Cabot when I killed him beforehand, but I guess he just leaves it around now.
I can't just
Alright, hold on, what?
decide if this makes Jack more impressive or even crazier than I thought.
What, the whole lab setup? It's definitely super impressive. He doesn't need to be crazy for that. Can't add extra armor here. No, shut up. I got this. No point in burning my fusion core as I sit there frozen in time unlocking a terminal. Ceremony, alright. Benefits. Yeah, how about collapse?
Got it.
There we go. Holy crap, look at all these entries. Welcome, Jack Cabot. He has entries going all the way back to 1968? Huh. I think I finally have this new terminal set up correctly. Let's see if this saves. Yes! I can already see that this is going to increase my productivity immensely. Never mind mother's carping about newfangled contraptions. I see that I mistyped my name on the setup screen. I'll have to check the manual for how to fix that. Would get annoying to see that every time I log in. I never did. How do you accidentally press O or 0 rather than O? I guess if I'm looking at the keyboard, they are right next to each other. At least next to on mine. But he never did it. In over 200 years? 200? Yeah, about that. 200, 300 years. Still learning how to work with this new computer. Searched the manual for an hour last night, but couldn't find out how to reset my name on the login screen. Oh well, hardly worth worrying about right now. I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. At some point, I'll need to take the time to transcribe all my old paper notes into this system so that I can easily access them. But for now, let me summarize my progress so far in understanding Father's condition so I have a baseline to refer back to here. 1. All attempts to directly remove the artifact have been unsuccessful so far. Father's blood pressure dropped precipitously, and detectable brain waves nearly flatlined each time. The results were the same. Total anesthesia, father unconscious. Local anesthesia, father conscious. Several types of antipsychotics, to do, fill in exact list and doses from my notes, to do, fill in dosages from notes. 2. This implies that disabling the artifact in some way will be necessary in order to remove it from my father. Question, is the psychotic effect permanent? I.e., will it survive removal of the artifact, or is the artifact actively directly inducing it? 3. I have been cautious with directly physically interacting with the artifact since the very early days. My initial attempts to probe or tinker with it were met with similar physical symptoms in father to my attempts to remove it. I won't attempt it again until I have much greater understanding of the artifact's inner workings. 4. Active scannings of the artifact itself has proven useless. I currently consider this a dead end. X-rays, so far, has proven opaque to all my scans. Obviously, I'm limited to the amount of radiation I can risk subjecting father to. Radio imaging. Again, the artifact is opaque at all wavelengths. 5. Passive scanning has been more promising. This is an area I plan to devote much more time. The artifact radiates across the electromagnetic spectrum and at varying strengths and wavelengths. I have some basic telemetry already built into Father's cell and have been collecting data for the past 2 years. So far, it isn't much more than suggestive of further avenues of research, but I am quite confident that over time and with more sophisticated sensors, I'll be able to gain Let me slow down there. I'll be able to gain genuinely useful insight into the way the artifact is controlling father. To do, get military contacts from Senator DeSoto. They are likely to have more advanced tech than I can get commercially. Consider making deal for samples of serum if necessary. Ooh. 6. The physical symptoms and changes that the artifact has induced in father are as follows. Extreme paranoia and psychotic tendencies. This was obvious from the first. Since no drug has proven effective in mitigating these symptoms, all evidence points to this being directly induced by the artifact. Agelessness. As yet unidentified modifications to his blood chemistry has prevented any further aging since he first encountered the artifact. In fact, he may be in better physical health than before. It seems likely that the artifact is actively monitoring and correcting any problems it finds with its host organism. Except for that graying hair. Telekinesis, the most surprising ability. I tentatively believe that this is not actual telekinesis, but is something generated directly by the mechanisms in the artifact itself, perhaps using manipulation of gravity waves beyond our current technology. Increased physical strength, perhaps a side effect of the artifact's monitoring and improving of its host. This caused some difficulty early on in Father's confinement, before I was fully aware of his abilities, but is now merely something to keep aware of. Jesus Christ, this is just going on and on. 7. Father's blood chemistry shows various changes from human norms, as well as traces of currently unidentified substances. I've proven that at least some of the symptoms described above can be communicated to another person through use of blood transfusion. So far, through pure trial and error, I've been able to produce a serum with several of the beneficial qualities and few side effects, but my actual understanding of what the serum is doing so far is very limited. I'll continue to pursue that as time allows, but it seems unlikely to be of much use in actually freeing Father from the artifact. 8. Oh my god, it just keeps going. Jack Cabot, you have like 10 more entries after this too. 8. X-rays of Father's brain shows no physical intrusions of the artifact. His skull remains intact and I can see no signs that it has even penetrated his flesh. At this point, I believe that the blood chemistry changes must be being induced by the artifact indirectly. It is instructing Father's cells in how to manufacture these substances. 9. My most successful intervention to date has been the development of the Abremlin field. Earliest crude implementation, 1898, was simply a full-spectrum dampening field tuned to the same frequencies given off by the artifact. It did interfere with the artifact's operation, but at great cost to Father's health. At the time, I had no choice. He would have been impossible to confine any other way, but refinement of the field has been a priority over the last decades. I've managed to reduce the negative physical effects on Father while more directly blocking the artifact's telekinesis power. So far, my attempts to broaden the field's interference with other aspects of the artifact have been unsuccessful. They bring on similar physical symptoms to attempting to physically remove the artifact, but this remains the most promising avenue of my research. If I can discover how to interrupt this communication, I believe I will have the key to removing it, or at least at the very least, in mitigating some of the other dangerous symptoms, psychosis, etc. And you did that in 1968? Yeah. Are there more? Okay, I just wanted to see if there's like a second list if I pressed E. Oh, this is gonna be a lot of reading. You know, if I had played this game like 3 years ago, I would have skimmed it and be like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. But instead we're doing this. Okay. Mother and Imogene have left for another European tour while I take care of the latest generational shift. Getting more difficult to make this work in our modern age. Luckily, money still talks. I'll have to find someone reliable to leave in charge at Parsons while I'm gone. Perhaps Anderson can be trusted not to meddle? It's good to be back. John Cabot, long-lost cousin of the Cabots, has returned to claim his inheritance after the freak accident that claimed the lives of Jack and his family. As usual, I have to be careful to respond when people address me as John, and this beard's gonna take some getting used to. But such are the burdens of immortality. Anderson's proved loyal and uninclined to poke his nose in anything, so that's another hurdle passed. I need to try and get as much done as I can while Mother is away. I find I am much more productive than usual during these transitions. Is it because his mom is away that he's more productive, or just, well, hey, I can work and worry about everything else? Oh, a whole year passed by, or at least 6 months. It's good to be back. Oh, no, we read that one. Okay. I like how he pretty much just grows a beard and calls himself John. That's not suspicious. I've been experimenting with some of the new transistors, and it looks possible to make a portable version of the Abremlin field generator. This would be very useful if you ever had to move Lorenzo to a different facility for any reason. A lot more work is necessary, of course, and testing it on Lorenzo is out of the question. I won't risk shutting down the main field, but replicating the current field frequency pattern should at least give us something that we could try in an emergency, even if I can't be 100% certain it will work. Did he have this mobile one beforehand? I've just hired a new fellow to work with the family's affairs, Edward Deegan. Comes highly recommended. It's too easy for me to ignore the passage of time now, but I've just realized how old Daniel is getting. It'll be time for him to retire in a few years, and it's past time to start grooming his replacement. This is always such a difficult process that I tend to put it off, especially as Mother can be so difficult with anyone new. If Edward proves reliable, I can start easing him into the family secrets. Tricky, but necessary. So far, so good. Mother has taken to him, which is an essential first step. And when was that? 2023. So just 50-some years before the bombs. Wow, Edward was lasting quite a while. Oh wait, no, okay, I misread it. So it was 20 years before the bombs. I thought this guy was old as fuck. Holy shit. Okay. I've had Rabco out again. It seems like a small thing, but this login screen glitch has been driving me crazy. I assumed that it would be fixed with the upgrade terminals. You can be sure I was careful to type my name in correctly this time, but nope, when it booted up the next time, there it was again. This time they completely wiped the entire system and reinstalled their master holotapes, or reinstalled from their master holotapes. Unbelievably, the typo was still there. They promised to have some of their sharpest engineers look into the problem, but I'm not sure they were completely serious. If I don't hear from them within a couple of weeks, I'll make a few calls. He's still trying to solve the name problem. Apparently the political situation has become very dangerous. I don't pay much attention to current events, but Imogene's latest beau is a high muckety muck in some government agency, and has been telling her alarming stories about how close things have gotten to a full-scale nuclear war. I wonder if we're following in the footsteps of the ancients who created the artifact. If so, who might our successors be thousands of years from now? Will a cockroach civilization eventually rise to wonder at the artifacts we left behind? No, it'll still be around. It really happened. I don't think I've quite come to terms with what it means for the long run. It's been one crisis after another. We certainly aren't out of the woods yet, but the simple fact that I can write this again means we are better off than most people. I don't have time to write down everything that's happened. Fortunately, Boston was spared a direct hit. My first concern was Parsons, of course. We had to maintain power at all costs. We've had backup generators, more than usual even for a medical facility, but these were intended for short-term outages, not as a permanent power supply. Then there was a question of security. Edward proved himself amazingly resourceful. He already had plans in place for just such an emergency. Thank God he paid more attention to the news than I did. Still, there's no real planning for the end of civilization. He and I have been at Parsons for almost a month, trying to keep things from completely falling apart. Edward has been out more than he should. I'm afraid he's taken a heavy dose of radiation, but there was really no choice. I'll do what I can for him. I don't know how I can replace him now. Imogene has stepped up amazingly. I had no idea she had it in her. The man we left in charge here proved unreliable, apparently cracked under the pressure and tried to evict Imogene and Mother at gunpoint. He didn't reckon on Imogene, and neither did I. She took charge and somehow kept things secure here in spite of everything. I'll have to see what Edward can do about a more permanent solution for power and security for Cabot House, but for the moment things look much better than they might. I expect even our resources will be tested to the limit over the coming years, but in some ways I'm glad of the challenge. One thing's for sure, the end of the world isn't boring. That was 2077. I like how he stopped kind of writing articles a little bit 30 years afterwards, or 40 years. I think I can finally say that things are looking up. Edward has recruited a more or less reliable security force to protect Parsons. The power situation is stabilized. Edward assures me we now have spare parts stockpiled to last at least 50 years. Moving between here and Parsons is still the biggest problem. There's no sign of any return of law and order, just the opposite in fact, but Edward has proven skilled at dealing with the various groups of thugs that have sprung up. Speaking of Edward, his radiation sickness has developed in a most fortunate way. For a time I thought he was surely going to die, but then his condition stabilized. He now seems actually immune to further radiation. Apparently this is not unknown in other survivors, although Edward tells me that a strong prejudice has developed against these people. Hard to understand, as they seem uniquely qualified to survive in this new world. One benefit of the end of civilization that I hadn't anticipated. There's no need for us now to have to die periodically. I can go back to being Jack Cabot again for the foreseeable future. No more neighbors to poke their noses into our business. Yeah, I guess this part of town is pretty empty. Besides raiders and super mutants. I've lately immersed myself in Lorenzo's work like never before. I wish now I had made more effort, when it was still possible, to try to locate the site of so-called Ubar. After my initial failed attempt to find the site, I dismissed it as both hopeless and useless. Better to focus my energy on the immediate problems. But now, after going over Lorenzo's papers more thoroughly, I believe there are enough clues to the general location that a large-scale search using aircraft might have been feasible. Something that wasn't possible in my first attempt, of course. Maybe I could have found some other artifacts I could have studied more directly, even if they were completely different for completely different purposes. It would be invaluable in understanding how the ancient technology functioned. I've also come to realize how brilliant Lorenzo actually was. I was far too quick to dismiss his theories. The arrogance of youth. I'm now convinced that his essential premise is correct. The artifact he found was not made by humans. All the evidence was there, but Lorenzo was the only one who put it all together and actually understood what it meant. A staggering thing to think of. If only he had been capable of dealing with fools a bit more diplomatically, he might have gained more general acceptance of his theories and had not been driven to such secrecy in his final expeditions. And that's it? That's all we got? Alright, Jackie. Don't know why you stopped writing stuff, like, for over 100 years. But let's see if we can snoop on more terminals, because we love doing that. Oh, hello. I'm also a big fan of taking a lot of ammo. I can't believe I didn't explore the house. Every time we came in here, we just talked to Jack and then went on out. I did try to slightly explore the place after I killed Jack, but obviously I didn't want to keep that world. Oh, hello.
Yes.
Wow, I could have had this way earlier. Permanently inflict 2% limb damage. Hey. Lorenzo Cabot's journal. All right. I doubt we'll be able to read a whole bunch of it, but we'll take what we can get.
Did you check this yet?
That's what I'm doing. Ooh, technical document. All right. Thursday, 8th of February, 1894. Off Cape Cod, aboard SS Wakeville. I'm finally away. Imogene and Wilhelmina, holy crap, Wilhelmina came to see me off. Imogene begging me not to go, as usual, poor girl. She takes these partings hard. Jack wasn't there, of course. He thinks I'm making a laughingstock of the whole family. With these expeditions, has no time for what he calls ancient superstitions. No matter. This time I'll return with proof that even Jack will not be able to deny. Saturday, 10th of February, in the Atlantic aboard SS Wakeful. The weather is fine, and the captain promises a quick crossing to Lisbon. The red tape involved in organizing this expedition tried my patience almost to the breaking point, but I'm sure it was better to obtain the necessary permits from the Omani authorities through the State Department. I can only hope that my sheaf of documents and ready cash will be enough to placate the local governor when I arrive. Wednesday, February 21st, the Western Mediterranean aboard SS Wakeful. So far, so good. Uneventful crossing. Metternich was waiting for us in Lisbon with the welcome news that he had perfected his electrical sensing apparatus, which is now safely on board in its crates. If it works as well as he claims, this may save us weeks or even months of excavation work. Monday, 5th of March, Suez, Egypt. Still waiting to finish hiring our team of diggers. I am beside myself with impatience to be on my way. We are so close now, but I know from long experience that we will have better luck with an experienced Egyptian team than relying on the locals. 14th of March. At last! We docked yesterday and have been unloading it at a feverish pace. Any more delays and we'll be in danger of having to postpone until the summer heat has passed. 16th of March, man, this is going long, alright. We're on our way. Nothing more stands in my way but the impenetrable desert and the secrets of the ages. Ha! I welcome those challenges. They seem like child's plays after the endless delays and paper-shifting bureaucrats I've had to overcome to get here. Thursday, 29th of March. We have reached the spot without incident. Some superstitious grumbling from our local guide, which I take to be a good sign. Tomorrow we see if Metternich's apparatus works. If not, we begin digging in the traditional way. Metternich's apparatus has been bulky. Sand in its delicate workings, no doubt. But he has obtained a favorable reading in a depression to the south. Heating during the day is tremendous. We'll set to work tomorrow and see what we see. Nothing yet of the southern depression. Metternich swears that it wasn't a false reading. 2 more days and then I'll have to begin a search grid across the whole site, as disappointing as that will be. 3rd of April. Success! Late this afternoon, the diggers worked stone, apparently the edge of a large circular structure. More trouble from the guide. The wisdom of not hiring the diggers locally now even more apparent, as they pay little attention to them. I'm now convinced we have found Yubar itself. We've uncovered several fragmentary inscriptions with runes that match the ancient texts. We've made excellent progress clearing part of what appears to be a monumental plaza. All work has stopped. Sandstorm, one of the worst I've ever experienced. We are huddled in our tents in the lee of one of the large outcroppings and must hope to ride it out. The darkness is complete, although it is mid-morning. Sandstorm continues for a 3rd day, like nothing anyone has ever seen. The guide is becoming very troublesome. Some of the diggers are beginning to listen to his wild tales of ancient curses and forbidden secrets. Even the normally phlegmatic Metternich is beginning to show signs of cracking under the strain. The sandstorm is over, but 2 weeks of work has been undone. The area we had cleared is now buried under several feet of sand. The guide disappeared in the night. I won't miss him, but the diggers are even more unsettled. Thursday, May 3rd. He lasted there for a while. Yubar, empty quarter, Arabia. We've located what must be the foundations of the Great Temple. So far, nothing but stone and rubble, but something must have survived. Weather getting worse by the day. Murnich's talking again and resuming work in the winter, but I won't hear of it, not when we're this close. I must record everything while it's fresh in my mind, although it's hard to concentrate with the crown right here in front of me. It's almost unbelievable, even to me, that I hold in my hands an artifact so clearly not made by human civilization. But let me set down how it happened as clearly as I can. We had worked for at least a week to clear the shaft beneath the Great Temple. Even the diggers had caught the excitement. Then we hit solid stone, a cyclopean series of blocks as it turned out, obstructing the tunnel, clearly deliberately sealed by the builders. We almost despaired of getting through. 3 days of laborious pickwork. I wouldn't risk explosives here at all places. Then breakthrough into darkness. I was first in. The dust of ages covered everything, clearly a burial crypt. Sarcophagus at one of the chambers. We lifted the lid, and inside, even I fell to my knees in shock. The diggers that were helping us fled. Metternich, white-faced. I feared he was having a heart attack. Luckily, no. We'll make a full catalog of the tomb in the morning. I ordered it sealed up overnight. Not that I really believe any of the diggers would dare to enter it again, but better safe than sorry. I removed only the crown, reverently, without disturbing the body or any of the other artifacts. And so, vindication! The crown waits, gleaming as if new made, although I know it's older than any human artifact ever encumbered. Later. I now know that this city's name was not Ubar, and that this building was not a temple, and what was beneath was not a crypt. I have so much to learn and so much to teach Wilhelmina and Jack and Imogen. When we return, we will return together. Monday, May 14th. Murdoch was extremely surprised to see me wearing a crown this morning and tried to argue with me when I ordered the men to bury everything we've uncovered. It doesn't matter now. The sandstorms will erase all evidence that we were ever here before anyone can stumble across this site again. And the city's location is now safe with me until I can return and uncover more of her secrets when I am ready. But he never returns because he just goes crazy. I can't just steal this away.
Hey.
What is it?
I want to take this. No one deserves to know what Ubar is, to ever find the lost city. I'll just leave it. I'm trying to find the other girls' rooms. Imogen and her mother to see if they have anything to say about the whole matter. Actually, I think Imogen's thing was downstairs, so we'll read this terminal. Alright. Appropriate. Overcrowded. Worshipping. Yeah, alright. Accompanied.
Through.
Oh, Jesus. So much reading. Time for more water before my throat dries out. Those poor people who don't like me reading stuff. There's just so much. At least she kept up her journal for a long while. Okay. Another unwanted gift from my loving brother. Still, it might be interesting to play around with. This whole computer thing turned out to be more interesting than I thought. I've been learning a lot from various BBSs. Jack's been griping about some mistake he made in setting up his terminal, so I poked around until I found the file. It would be simple to fix it for him, but not nearly as much fun as watching him try to solve it on his own. She knows about the... Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. How long did she know about how to fix? She knew how to fix it from 1968. Jack, that's great. I was playing around with some new ideas and hit upon a good gag. I wonder how long it will take Jack to figure out. Ooh. Went to see Father again. I just showed up at Parsons and threatened to make a scene until Jack finally agreed to let me go down. I don't know why I keep going. Father puts on quite an act for me, but I know it's not really him. Not since he got back from his trip wearing that horrible crown. I keep hoping that somehow he'll come back. That I'll see even a glimmer of the real person again. Maybe Jack will eventually succeed. As annoying as he can be, I can't deny that he's very smart. I went off the serum for a whole month. I thought I could stick with it this time, but when you actually feel yourself getting older by the day and know you can fix it, it's hard to give up youth and beauty voluntarily. I bet most people couldn't do it if they had the choice. I wouldn't. Let's just be completely honest. If I had the ability to keep myself immortal and young, and all I had to do was, like, drink a serum, I would do it. No real reason not to. Besides all the moral things about keeping your father locked up for 400 years in the middle of a insane asylum's basement. That's different. I went off the serum for a whole month. No, we already read that one. Okay. Apparently the Robco's techs don't even know how their own systems work. I mean, it's just a simple bat file in the root directory of the database server, for crying out loud. Hardly the hack of the century or anything. It's this super simple fix. You probably just launch up the bat and you type in a different name and boom, it's fixed. But apparently, no one figured it out except for this girl. That means we actually can give her credit. Because beforehand she seems kind of just off-putting. Although we didn't really interact with her so much, so well. Things are just going from bad to worse. The things Robert tells me, most people don't even know how bad it is. And here we sit, safe in our little cabin, family bubble of privilege. I've tried to talk to Jack about it, but he's in his own world as usual. I doubt he even knows what year it is. And Mother, don't even get me started. Her whole life is a state of denial. I know this is insane to even think, but maybe this is for the best. You'd think I could just get a gun or some poison if I really wanted to end it for myself, but I could never be that deliberate. How selfish must I be to think that I need the world to end as a way for me to get out of killing myself? Whoops. It's happening. I think a bomb must have hit somewhere. Power is out all over, as far as we can see from here. The emergency power is still on in the house, but not for long. Edward and Jack went to try and get to Parsons' priorities, you see. Jack left Anders in charge here. He seems competent enough, but there's something about the way he's been looking since it happened that I don't like. I'd better get back to Mother. I got the power back on again. Things are very bad, but I would never admit this to anyone, but this is the most fun I've had since I can remember. I'm not bored anymore. Maybe this is how most people feel all the time. I really can't remember how I felt before the serum. Oh, and Anders is dead. I killed him. No one can believe it. 2 days after Jack left, he decided that Cabot House belonged to him and that Mother and I would have to leave. I can't really blame him. I mean, it was the end of the world. I'm not sure most employment agreements cover that, but he made the mistake of underestimating me. He didn't know how fast I was or how strong. I would have just made him leave, but he decided to fight. Probably better that way. One less person out there who knows about what we have here. We haven't heard from Jack for a week. He and Edward made it to Parsons at least. Jack radioed when they arrived. Tried to be cheerful as usual, put on a happy face for Imogene. But who really knows if they're going to manage? At least Edward is with them. If anyone can get through this, it's Edward. I like how much faith everyone has in Edward. Like every time we heard like the mother talking about it, she's like, oh, Edward always knows what to do. Jack made it back, finally. He says Edward is very sick from radiation. He left him at Parsons. I don't think he expects him to live. I'm not sure why neither of us is sick. I was out quite a lot now that I think about it. Maybe another one of the benefits of Jack's magic serum. I'll have to thank Father the next time I see him. Thanks, Dad. Your serum allows me to not turn into a zombie. It's nice. Whoa, that's not what I want. Ah. I wonder if I can use this spotlight override program. Not on this terminal, obviously, but on other terminals. I just figured you knew the password automatically. It turns out that eventually even the apocalypse can get boring. Jack and Edward are too good at keeping us safe. It looks like the Cabot family is immune from the end of the world, just like everything else. We just shrug it off and keep on going, just like we always have. Sometimes I'm very pleased about that. It makes me feel incredibly superior. Sometimes it makes me really sad. Most of the time it's just boring as hell. I've stopped even telling anyone where I'm going. The world isn't as dangerous as Jack says. There are still people out there living their lives like they always have. I guess more of them are willing to kill you now, but that's probably just because they can. I always got the feeling that plenty of people would have liked to see us dead before. They just couldn't get away with it. And then her last entry, over 100 years later. I don't know how Jack keeps himself busy day after day. You'd think he would realize that he was hopeless by now, after all these years and years. Maybe he's just going through the motions the way I am. Or maybe he stopped trying to cure Father. I mean, what happens after, to us? I'm the only one that's ever tried to go without the serum. Maybe Jack and Mother think they could just give it up, but I think they're fooling themselves. And that's that. I like how these entries, oh, this is awkward. I think this entire mission is very interesting, just to bring up the subject of immortality and what you would do and what the costs would have to be. Would you throw someone under a bus in order to keep yourself immortal? Would they really have tried to save their father? Did he actually know? Did Jack Cabot actually know how to save his dad the entire time? I doubt it. I think that Jack was being legitimate. I've had a couple people go, GaLm, you're in the wrong here. I disagree with your choices with this mission. I think that the Cabots are obviously milking what their father has and will never intend it to free him.
What do you want? I don't need anything right now, thank you.
Okay. But I think that's an interesting viewpoint, because while there's no doubt that the Cabots are in a wrong for keeping their dad locked up, is it really their fault that their dad came back with a fucking alien artifact on his head? Nope, that's the dad's fault. If he hadn't gotten crazy from it and they could all just be immortal without worrying about it, I'm sure they all would have taken the option. They just would have been like, all right, so dad just has a crown permanently on his head and he's not crazy. Awesome. But I guess we'd see. The one thing to remember is that from what we heard, their dad actually did some crimes after getting back. It's one thing for him to just be like crazy, and it's another thing for him to get back, be crazy, and do criminal activities. So, yeah. What is down here? This is a really big house. Ooh, mini nuke. I'll take it. I mean, I'm taking pretty much everything. The radio doesn't work down here. I guess this is kind of a safe-ish room? It's all the way in the basement. They've got themselves a safe and a bed and a radio. Why would you need all this stuff down here if you have perfectly decent rooms upstairs, right? Oh yay, look at all these unrusted tin cans. It is actually a good question. How do they keep this place looking so pristine for hundreds of years?
This looks like a good place to stop for a bit, if you need rest.
I mean, it's one thing to clean up the place, you know? Yeah, you take a couple of mops here and there and everything will look nice and clean. But certainly parts of the house would have just decayed out. But hey, they had 400 years to keep this place clean and nice. So who am I to ask? Damn it. You've been caught lockpicking. The owner's now hostile. I'm sorry! I'm sorry!
Here's the latest word on what's happening in the Commonwealth, folks. Not content with sitting quietly at the airport, the Brotherhood continues to make waves. They've recently been seen cleaning up Fort Strong, formerly occupied by some very unpleasant super mutants. Whether they plan to annex the location or just wanted to get rid of the neighbors, I couldn't say. Whatever their reasoning, I think we can all agree that fewer super mutants running around isn't a bad thing. Here's a whole lot of shaking going on by Big Maybell.
I had to reload and redo this entire place. Which doesn't sound that bad, considering all I had to do was hack 2 terminals? Yeah, hack 2 terminals, and then run around every room stealing everything again. Here's a fun thing. So, this terminal is expert. Jack Cabot's terminal password is expert lock. His sister's is master lock.
Get off the floor in here.
And so it's funny, like, going back and being like, oh yeah, I guess it really does show it. Imogen might just be generally smarter than her brother. Just not in the fields that he works in. So good for her.